Everyone, welcome back to our newest episode of You Only Go Once. I'm Cheryl Cantafio, here with my wonderful co-host Eileen Grimes, and we are excited to introduce our very special next guest.
I am incredibly excited to introduce this person. I have known them forever, literally, in my life. This person has been an inspiration for me in what it means to be a mom and a human, and someone who keeps approaching life in a way that brings joy to her heart, fire to her soul, and I am so incredibly proud to call her my mom. I want to welcome Rita Walsh to the podcast. Welcome, Mom.
Thank you for having me, everyone. Eileen and Cheryl, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So good to have you.
Yeah, so we're here just to start this conversation. Mom, can you tell us a little bit about sort of some of the things that you're doing now and some of the things that are in life that lighting up your inner fire in life? What are those things?
What are my things? Probably, first of all, my family, that I have 6 wonderful children. I have a wonderful spouse, 4 fantastic grandchildren, and just look forward to be able to talk to them either on the phone or FaceTime them. Hope I get to see them, not as often as I would like, but it's just making a trip sometimes. Those are the things that fire me the most, that I can, and I talk to my children almost daily. I appreciate phone calls and checking up on us to make sure that we're okay. And if they haven't heard from us, that they put the feelers out to the other brothers and sisters and say, have you heard from Mom and Dad today? So
this happened 2 days ago, yesterday.
Correct.
I called, I have like my normal call time in the morning, and I called and no one answered. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're shopping or doing something. And then I called at like noon. I was like, well, maybe I know Mom's not subbing right now, so I'll call her. And no one answers. So I'm like, what is happening? There is nothing going on that I know about. So I text my sister. I'm texting my brother. I'm like, have you heard from Mom and Dad? What is happening? Someone's got to have tabs. So Peter did, and he told me that they were getting tires and whatnot. But yeah, we all we have like a phone tree situation to make sure Mom and Dad are okay.
I love that Walsh network. Yeah.
Well, and we're very fortunate as parents to have our children be involved in what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, that we get a chance to talk to them and they know, okay, we're doing this today, as maybe sometimes other families don't get a chance to talk to their children or their grandchildren, but it's pretty much on children. It's pretty much a daily basis. So for me, even though I can't see them every day, I can hear their voices almost every day. So that it really makes my day when I can do that.
And I'll say too, for me at least, I remember you used to call your mom every day and you would talk to her on the phone. So that was just something I associated with something that you did, right? You called and checked in and said hi. And even if it was a short little whatever, like that was just sort of part of your relationship with her.
And I've talked to people my age too, and they've said that if their children are not around, that they have that day-to-day conversation as opposed to not, doing that, where years ago, before we had all these wonderful things, FaceTime, the phone, you wrote a letter and you didn't hear from that person, or phone calls were so expensive. Maybe it was every week you talk to somebody, or maybe every month. So to be able to do that day-to-day conversation just keeps the relationship going and keeps it, that we're still very much a part of each other's lives.
Do you have letters from your mom, or was it mostly phone calls?
I do have letters from my mother.
That's great.
And I have letters from my father. He died many, many years ago, so I still have letters. I have a couple of letters from my grandmother that I have kept. So they're put away in my storage that I could have. But my mother used to they would send me money from college, and usually it was my mother wrote a letter and she'd say, "Love, Mother." So they would give me $10 maybe every week or something like that from college. That was a long time ago. So $10 was a lot of money back in the 1960s. Yep. So yes, I do still have letters from both my parents.
That's great. Those are treasures. You got to keep those. Those are wonderful.
Oh, I love it. I didn't even know that.
Well, now you do. There you go.
Thanks, Cheryl. What else, Mom?
I guess,
Sorry.
The other part of, I enjoy life. It's rarely I get up and I don't want to get up out of bed. I'm a late sleep. I go to bed late only because I can't always sleep until later on. And I usually get up, but I enjoy getting up. I can't say unless I'm sick. that I don't want to get out of bed thinking, okay, today is whatever is going on, whether I'm subbing or working outside or working in the house or doing those things. I enjoy getting up every day.
Now you say you subbed.
I'm a substitute teacher in K through 12,
Okay.
mainly in music. My degree is
Nice.
K through 12, instrumental and vocal. And
Wow.
so when I retired officially in 2016, then I thought, well, I still want something else to do. So someone called me up and said, can you sub? And I did. And so for the last 6 years, I sub in different school, a couple of different school districts, but mainly it's music. A lot of times it's PE that I get to sub for, or a regular classroom. And I do special ed too. So I'm very fortunate to go to the different schools, and now they kind of call me and say, can you substitute teach for me?
If not
Wonderful.
asking you to come back full time and teach too.
True. But I don't think I want to ever do that again. This way I can take weekends and we can go see our kids, or if we're going to plan to go to a ball game or something, I can kind of plan those days. So I enjoy being with kids. I love, we have 6 of our own children. I love our 6 children. I enjoy teaching. So I think I knew I was going to be a teacher when I was in probably 4th or 5th grade. A music teacher of mine, her name was Marge Darley, and she instilled on us, she loved music. And I knew back then I was going to be a music teacher. So just always kind of knew, not in the performance area, but be a music teacher so that other children would enjoy music as much as I do.
Now, Eileen, are any of the 6 of you musically inclined?
Yes, they are.
They are. Okay. Yeah.
All 6 of them. I'm going to say all 6 of them. I
Okay.
taught all of them piano lessons except for one. Tried it and didn't work with him.
That's gracious.
He wasn't going to sit for me to teach, but all of the rest of them took. I gave them piano lessons when they were little, and then they went on to play different instruments when they were in middle school.
That's great.
Yeah, I liked singing best. That was definitely my favorite. And then of all the instruments that I had to pick something, because Mom said it's 5th grade or 6th grade. I can't remember which you started, but there's band. And Mom said, you pick something for band. And I did, and it was the trombone. I just thought it seemed...
Of course you did. All right.
I just thought it seemed so much fun. Like, woo. That was me, in case all of you that can't see, interacting with a trombone, an air trombone.
Air trombone, yes. That'll be the new one. That'll be air trombone will be the new the new one that the kids are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was something that for me, that music was always around. Like, we had the piano. If later in life there were multiple pianos, and there was a drum set, and there were guitars, and there was Mom, I found out later in life, had an accordion, which I didn't know until I was exactly, thank you, Cheryl. I didn't know until I was 20s, something along those lines.
That would have been awesome. Yeah. Oh, so Rita, I see you. I think you hung on to that for a specific reason. You held that piece of information back for a specific reason outside of 6 kids. That's pretty cool.
Why did you have the accordion, Mom?
Oh, the story was my father wanted all of my siblings to play musical instruments. And so I played piano, my sister played piano, but my brother was not going to play piano. So my father bought him an accordion. And he never touched it. So then he didn't want it, so I took it.
That's lovely. Oh,
but it's just a small, it's almost like a concertina, little piano or little accordion. So it's a fun. I get it out every once in a while.
It's so fun. It's
great.
It's like joy just to have it, to listen to it. I don't know. There is something about it that's so much fun.
That's so much fun. That's awesome.
So what was it about music for you? You just light up with music stuff, whether or not we're going to the symphony or, going to the Seattle Men's Chorus stuff, or seeing your own kids perform, or even you perform, or your students. Like, there's something about music for you. Watching you play handbells in the handbell choir, there's something that lights up for you. What is that? What would you say?
I think it's part of the fact that you're with a group, you're working together. And it could be, for me, it was music. It could be something else for somebody else. It could be a sports related type of thing, or just anything that you're involved in. But music, it soothes the soul, and it makes you, sometimes you feel as though you are part of this instrument that you're playing, or when you're with a musical group, that you're all have become one. and not each individual. So yeah, when I've conducted the choirs at our Christmas program that we've had at schools, or even in the high schools, it's, the kids light up and you see that they can produce something with their voices or their instruments that they've learned how to do, and it kind of helps them out internally.
Yeah. I mean, I've told you before, but there's something about music that feels like it's almost like this connection from soul to soul of,
yes,
I can't see it. It's not in the air, but somehow it's something that's like connecting all of us that sort of doesn't exist. Right? Like how does that even work? I mean, I know how it works. I've done the physics classes and all of that stuff, and I get sound waves, all of that, but there is something about the combination of all these instruments and tones and things that are going on, and it seems otherworldly sometimes.
I'm going to say it's a spiritual thing for me too. It becomes where you're performing or you're singing or whatever it is, and then it's like your body is not part of you. I think people have done it, no matter what it can be. It could be sports, it could be something else, but I think that that's what it does for me for music.
I should actually get my husband down here because he has such an emotional connection to music. So I'll have to do it after the podcast, but he's got a full drum set over here. We've got guitars over here.
Oh my goodness.
Like for him, it's very emotional for him. So like there are days where if he's feeling grumpy, he's got to get like some heavy metal, maybe pirate music on. And then there's other times where he wants to chill out, and it's very like Nora Jones-esque, jazz-esque music that he listens to. So I totally get what you're saying. And by the way, I see that in Eileen when she gets really excited and she tells me about something music. And sadly, she has to inform me about who half the people are, but that's okay. We could tell you, we could regale you with our tales of Taylor Swift ticket getting. Woo-hoo! So yes, but I wouldn't have even known about it. I know who Taylor Swift is, but I wouldn't have even known about it if Eileen hadn't said like, "Hey, I'm signing up for this thing. You got to sign up for this thing." And I said, "Okay, we got to sign up for this thing." And I literally like bumbled my way through the ticket purchasing process, and then to see the joy on my niece's face when she got the tickets. My sister had shared a video of her just completely freaking out because she's so excited about this person. But yeah, that special thing with, there's something to be said about music because I think it trains both sides of your brains as well. So I heard you say piano, and I heard you say voice, and I heard you say a couple other things. Of all the instruments, which one is your favorite?
Piano.
Okay.
And I taught piano lessons for a long time too. At one time when the kids were in college, I had 54 students a week that I taught piano lessons to.
Oh my heavens. Okay. Well,
it was a full-time job, but I hear from some of my students, and some of them have gone on to be doctors. I'm a profound advocate of children having music in the program in schools. And I know a lot of schools don't want to have it anymore, but it does develop both sides of the brain. It gives them soothing a lot of times when maybe someone's sick and they hear some soothing music, calms them down. A lot of times we use music for that, but it's just, everybody should be able to, I was fortunate to have it. I wish everybody in the world could have music around to be able to play an instrument or sing. They don't always have that.
It's so interesting because we had a guest on recently that's an art teacher, and saying, we had a similar conversation around art and just the arts in general, music, like all of these things are seen as secondary when really they're so innate to the development of sort of the core of us, I think, that allows our brain to develop in a certain way that allows us to learn the other things. And so that they're seen as these sort of secondary optional pieces is sad.
I'm going to add one thing to that. When I was in grade school, when we'd have to read, I was a stutterer. And so I never wanted to read out loud. But I started taking voice lessons in high school. It stopped the stuttering. And I have not stuttered since then. I think I might get tired sometimes, I do, but I have not stuttered. So I think that's another that I find music is not only, it's a healing thing too for people, besides satisfaction of listening to or playing an instrument, but there's something also on that part of the other spectrum that it can help.
I find that amazing. So when I was younger, we had a priest who sang the entire mass because he was a stutterer. So I'm always fascinated to hear and am often surprised by people who had stuttered when they were younger and they had discovered the joy of whether it's, music, or sometimes it's reciting poetry, sometimes it's acting. I think James Earl Jones was a stutterer and he found a poetry class, and that's kind of like how he started. Somebody's going to have to fact test me on that one, fact check me on that one. But I know that he was a stutterer, and somehow through the arts program in his school, what a gift of a voice that he has. So Rita, could you tell us a little bit about the bees? I'm going to shift. I need to know about the bees. I'm very excited about the bees.
They didn't do as well as I wanted them to this year, but I'm going to start again. In fact, I was going to put an order in for them here soon so I can start working on them once again this spring. I've planted a lot of pollinator mix, pollinators to help the bees so that they'll thrive without me giving them food, and then I can hopefully multiply my hives for the following year. I want to get back into it again since we moved. I have not had as much of a chance to be involved as I was. Just kind of helps with the environment of having the bees. And I found I had a lot of other kind of bees last year. I had a lot of bumblebees because of my flowers and things I had out. And I know we're trying to, some people have pollinator gardens that have butterflies and bees. So that's kind of also my intention, is to have more of those kinds of things in our yard. And I planted a lot of flowers with the intention of those kind of coming back into our yard, since a lot of it was a wooded area. I can see more butterflies. I saw butterflies last year. I saw a lot of bumblebees. So just to bring more bees and that into our environment.
I was very curious how you got started, because, you went from music teacher to Zoom beekeeping. And I think it's just obviously you're a multi-hyphenate lady. I'm just curious as to how you made the switch, not even the switch, but like, oh, this seems interesting. Like, how did you get into beekeeping?
My father used to be a beekeeper when he was a young man. Farmers had beehives. That's just, they had that to pollinate their things. So he loved having bees around them. When I was in college, he got them once again. And I always said I wanted to have bees. So I guess about 10 years ago, I took classes and started building my own hives. And then, so it just kind of been a process of learning up here in the Northwest how they survive with the cold and the rain. To go to some classes and just kind of keep that up. So I will work on that even more so this coming spring.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it because this is not something you've been doing your entire life. It was like, no, well, I'm going to do this now. I've always wanted to, so now I'm going to. And I love, I definitely get that from you.
Yes.
And taking on some of these, I like this and I'm interested and going to do it. It's happening one way or another. So I've seen you do that in many different things in your life. I'm grateful to have sort of an example that does that in front of me.
And I think that's what keeps me young or feeling young, is that I can do some of these things. And also the interaction I have with other people. If I go to meetings and that they say people our age should be out making friends with other people and joining different activities and clubs. So we keep our mind active. So we just don't sit in a chair all day long and do nothing. Yeah. Because I feel guilty I'm one that feels guilty if I don't do something. It's like this afternoon, I thought I need a little bit of a nap before I do the podcast. So I just rested, and I'd not want to just do that, but it was fine.
It is fine. Mom, you and I have talked on this one, and
yes,
we don't have to earn rest. We deserve it already. Right. And I say that out loud to remind myself of that, because it's something I still have to keep reminding myself of on a daily basis. So I get it. I'm going to ask you something. Have you ever had a point in your life that sort of changed the way that you saw the world? High, low, whatever. But is there something in your life that allowed you to see the world in a different way?
Wow. And think about this. I didn't know that was coming up. I think, growing up when we did in the 50s and 60s, we saw things as everything was going to be taken care of. And then the last probably 10 years since we see with climate change, how are we going to help our children? What are we going to do our age to help our children, our grandchildren, and the future generations to have a world that they can still live in? That's probably been probably most significant to me as far as changes, that we need to do something about it. It just doesn't happen. Somebody else is going to do it. That whether it's a recycling type of thing or eat foods that are different than we had before, are growing, people, growing their own gardens, that type of thing. But I think that's been the most significant change that I have seen. How do we take care of our planet?
That's a great question.
And I don't know the answer to that, but I know that impacts our entire world. And I have conversations with our son a lot of times at dinner time. What's the world going to be like if we don't do something about it in 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And bees are a part of that for sure.
Yes, they are. And butterflies.
Yep. All the pollinators.
Yes.
For sure. Well, that's a good one. Then I have, if you could thank somebody or somebody's, you had the opportunity to thank someone, who would that be?
Who would the one person be?
It could be multiple or one, whatever.
Well, I believe in afterlife. There is an afterlife. Okay. That for me, it is. Maybe not for everyone, but it is. There's always a person I talk to a lot of times during the day, and that's the Almighty Spirit. I truly believe that there is a hereafter, and I talk to them. I also talk to my parents a lot and thank them on a day-to-day basis, that I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for my parents, that they instilled a lot of things on us. And so I thank my parents. I also thank my children and my husband, because they make me feel secure and happy, as along with my grandchildren. So those are the people I would have to say I would thank, and been an influence on who I am.
That's a lovely answer. Yeah.
Yeah. I was always sad to have not met Grandpa. I think I told you recently that I was in a session with my therapist, and who was an intuitive, and told me that he was there with me. And so whatever anyone believes or whatever, that's just what it was. And so there was something about him looking over me, which I felt was really special, since I had never had a chance to meet him in my life, but to just even think or know that there might be some kind of presence or something of his that gets to be around. Yeah, I was grateful for.
Well, I have a similar story, but mine's a little, I went and got my tarot cards read. And the first thing that they said was, "Oh, there's a woman standing behind you, holding a rosary." And I thought, well, okay. So my mom had passed away at that time, about 6 months prior, but I could not imagine her holding a rosary, not because she wasn't Catholic or spiritual or anything like that. All I could think of was my Aunt Rose going, "What are you doing sitting with a tarot card reader? Go to church." So I got a good chuckle. Of course, the tarot card reader kind of looked side-eyed me, and I was like, "It's okay. It's probably my Aunt Rose. It's fine, but let's just keep going." So yeah, I do believe in the concept of the after, because really, where do you go? It's hard for me to understand, like, is this it? There's got to be somewhere where, like, your soul or something else just kind of goes and continues. So yeah, I love that you kind of have that conversation with people, and I appreciate you sharing that with us.
And I think, and you talk about that, if you're out in the dirt and it's springtime right now, if you're cutting blackberry bushes down, but if you're out there, you can, and the weather is, I can start to see some of my flowers coming up. So in the fall time, it all goes to sleep, and the springtime it starts to come up, and then the summertime it starts to grow and grow and grow, and then we have this whole cycle. For me, I believe that when we go, it's the same kind of cycle. We become something else, and we go back to not necessarily the ground, but we see a cycle. So something has to be, to me, it has to be something else beyond what's here on Earth. Otherwise, why would we be here? For me, I believe that.
Well, as the ordained minister of the group currently, yes, Mom, I am ordained, just so you know.
I think I knew that.
Okay, great. So the Jesuits at Gonzaga, Father Spitzer specifically, I definitely had a course with him that was, what was it called? It's like religion and the science of religion, or physics and religion, or something along those lines. But anyway, conceptually for me, like, I'm a math person, right? I majored in math. There is something for me that math exists in this like perfect form of something that feels like rules. How does something along those lines exist without this just sort of order to the universe? Even if everything feels chaotic at some point, there is some type of rooting in order within the math, the science that gravity works, right? At least so far for me. I don't know about anyone else, but gravity has continued to hold me down here. And there's rules in science around that too, where, you know, it's that energy can neither be created nor lost. So if we are energy, it's got to go somewhere. It doesn't just like go away. It's somehow a part of everything. And I don't even know if after is the right word for it, but in all of this, we're all connected through this energy that we all exist within. And amen.
That's a good amen.
Yeah, I'm keeping it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So Rita, there is a question that we ask all of our guests, and it's something Eileen has been saying since I've known her, which is basically when you look down the road and you know what it is you want to do or what next adventure you want to take, she refers to it as, well, this is happening. We're totally doing this. This is happening. This is how this podcast got formed. She does a lot of things where it's like, this is happening. And the next thing I know, I get a text at like 10 o'clock at night going, guess what I did today? And I'm like, okay, cool. So from your perspective, what is your next, this is happening item? What's the next thing that you're looking to pursue?
Wow. Haven't thought about that. I guess it's a continuation of nothing necessarily new for me, but it's a continuation, maybe improving of whether I'm working with my bees or I'm improving maybe some of my artists that I like to sew, and maybe improving that level of how can I be better at that than I was before. So probably the same things. I don't necessarily see that we're going to go and I'm going to do anything particularly brand new. All that could change. I'm always up for that. You know, I'm not going to be doing a skydive or anything like that. But I guess new is just to continue and just to be working outside and improve our habitat. If I could, I would plant 1,000 trees. I would clear off the blackberry bushes and put a lot of trees in. I guess that would be the one thing I would like to pursue, is cleaning off some of the rubble that's here, and maybe other people would do the same thing.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
I love that too, because this is something, Cheryl, you and I have talked about, and it has come up in a few different episodes too, where it's not necessarily that like, oh, I have to go climb a mountain, or I have those are great and they're nice things to have, but the day-to-day life is the things that we get to enjoy, and the process of all of that is also reward. And so enjoying that piece of it and finding the joy in the day-to-day, I think is so important. And also, I just want to say, I'm going to post your shirts that you have been making, sewing. Cheryl, you have seen these, right?
Oh, I love the shirts. Oh. Yes. The shirts. I love the shirts. Like,
I'm working on one now.
Oh,
my grandson.
I love it. So I think it was last year or the year before you had shown me, like, so she said, oh, here's my son in his photo. And I was like, where did he get that shirt? And Eileen very proudly said, my mom made them. And then I understood that you were making them for the grown boys in your world too, because they got excited about it. So sewing is I feel like sewing is like your extension of art and music, because I've always found that fashion is like walking and moving art. And a lot of that, like when you see, especially the fashion shows at Major, like one of the key roles that's in that is music, and how it makes you feel, how the fabric makes you feel as you're walking with that music. So I love that you sew as well. Do you play any music while you sew?
I do. Depends. My sewing room is in my laundry room, so I don't have access to the music in there, but I do have it on when I'm in here if I'm ironing, putting things together, then I'll put it on.
That's great. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. It's like, okay, Christmas time, mom's got some kind of Christmas music on, or
now that I'm outside, we have speakers for our outside, so I can turn Christmas music on. I was listening to the 1960s Mamas and Papas the other day. So I have a variety of, depends on what the mood is, I'll turn the different music on.
That's great.
And also, can we just talk real quickly about the fact that you don't have a she shed, you have a bee shed?
Yes, I do.
That you are making a she-bee shed.
A she-bee shed, yes.
So, okay, so if you could give us advice about living fully and really appreciating this one life that we have, what would you either tell your younger self? What would you tell us, your grandkids? What would you want to say about really embracing and living life on purpose?
I would say probably be nice to other people, help someone that's in need, and just be as loving as you can, and be happy every day that when you get up. It's a new day.
It is. It definitely is. And I will say we definitely volunteered a lot growing up because mom encouraged us, and this was a good thing. And I later appreciated that it was. And
well, thank you.
Yes. And now I enjoy doing it. I just didn't understand it at first, but the habit of it was something that now brings me joy and is why I like doing the things I do, and why, even with this podcast, it's about something that I'm hoping helps and serves others in a way that when they hear stories, when they hear something that speaks to them, that they're finding that somehow in their lives that can have some kind of impact. And that's what I want to do. And hopefully that message gets out to someone in some way, shape, or form. And that's where each of these stories, you for today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully it can touch somebody in a way that they needed to hear something in their lives.
Yeah, I found too that that certainly these episodes have taught me that I think people can feel a little less lonely hearing these different stories. So yeah, Rita, thank you so much for your time. It's such a pleasure talking to you.
You too.
On behalf of Eileen Grimes and myself, this concludes our episode of You Only Go Once. So enjoy your time, everybody, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Goodbye.